All right, class, welcome back to part 3 of our contour line drawing or our line study. This next part, we're going to be looking at drawing an actual object or item. But before we get started, you're going to need a couple of materials. You're going to need some pencils. Okay, so here I have our 2H, our HB, and our ebony. And let's talk pencils for a second. If you see the number 2H on your pencil, 2H, we're going to consider H pencils a more hard or a harder graphite. That means you will get a lighter pencil mark on your paper. If you have something in a B range, let's say a 2B, you're going to have something that is more soft. Okay, so put soft and hard here. Okay, so a B pencil is a softer pencil, and as you go up in number, it gets softer and softer, and as you go up in number in H, it gets harder and harder. Okay, so the pencil that falls kind of in the middle here for us is what's called the HB. All right, so we have one of those here too. So I gave you a kind of a harder pencil, and I've given you a soft one, and then I've given you an ebony pencil. And again, this is for the people who went and picked up their art kits. You have these, and the ebony pencil falls somewhere around the 2 to 4B range. Okay, it's a little bit of a messy pencil. Those soft pencils tend to get a little dirty and smudgy, so be aware of that. But what we're going to draw in first today is going to be the 2H. In almost all my classes, I should say almost all my classes, I give students a 2H, and I like everybody to draw on a 2H. This way, if you make mistakes, it's really easy to go back and erase them out. When you're working with a softer pencil, it tends to stain the paper surface, and it's harder to get out and make your work look a little messier. So for today's purposes, we're going to start off with in our drawing using a 2H pencil. Okay, so again, this is pencil hard and softness. Just jot that down somewhere if you need to in your notes. We're also going to need our sketchbook, right? So if you have a sketchbook now, hopefully you should. Here's mine. And then I ask that you guys get yourself some type of cloth. I went and took an old white t-shirt, I cut it up, and I'm going to turn it into a knot. So how do we do that? Pretty simple. We're going to take it, we're going to fold it, loop it through, and then we're going to pull it. Now, what I told students to do is don't pull it real tight. When you pull it tight, you kind of lose some of the uniqueness of the knot, and you can't play around with it much. When you keep it a little looser, it allows for you to make some neat folds and really manipulate your object. Okay, so you're going to need that. Once you have your knot done, okay, you're going to put it out in front of you somewhere. For our purposes today, I'm going to lay mine on the side of us, just so you can see what I'm doing. You can put yours right out in front of you and go from there, okay? I'm going to get my 2H pencil here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin what we talked about, that marathon. I'm going to start to look at a place where I want to begin my drawing. I would suggest maybe somewhere in the center here. I'm going to work lightly, so you don't want to be real hard, pushing down real hard with a lot of pressure on your pencil, because we're going to come back and do some of those neat little moves for the angles, perpendiculars, intersections, and curves. And if we draw dark right out of the gate, it's going to be extremely difficult to show any of those interesting line movements. Okay, so let's go. Let's begin. I'm going to begin somewhere in this area, and I want to begin looking at stuff here, and I'm really studying that 75-25 ratio. And again, you might have a little trouble seeing my work, so I'm probably going to push a little harder than I would recommend you guys doing. But remember, this is just for demo purposes. So you're going to work and want to work much lighter than I am. All right? And I'll come back with a different pencil so you can kind of see what it is that I'm doing. And I really want to break down this knot, okay? I'm trying to really get every one of these little nooks and crannies, these folds, and really want to describe this form. I like to tell students, pretend that you are you're showing this to somebody that's never seen a knot in their life, and they work only visually. So you have to be able to explain to them visually what a knot looks like. So that's going to require you to really study this object pretty intensely. So I'm looking again, and I'm working my way from center out. Okay, center out. Now you, again, may have a way that you like doing it. Again, I'm not going to argue with you about that. To each their own. I can just make suggestions that I have found that worked for me and for other students over time and share them with you, and hopefully that'll convince you that it makes it a little bit easier for you to work when you follow some of those little guidelines. And again, remember, I'm not doing any shading here. This is strictly line and a line study. And again, I'm not going to finish the whole thing here for you. I want to just get enough for you to get started so you see what it is that we're going to do. So that's going to require you to use a little bit of your imagination to pretend that I've finished everything. From the camera view, it's going to probably look like I did everything already here, but I'll just be honest with you, I haven't finished it all. Again, I just want to get stuff in here so you can begin working. Right? So let me make this last little bit of lines here just so we have a little bit more context of this thing. Again, a little bit of overlap. And again, I'm moving a little bit faster. I've been drawing for a lot longer than most people here, so I tend to go a little faster. Okay, so I've drawn this with my 2H pencil. I'm thinking light, soft, pressure. Okay, so drawing light, using soft pressure, really studying this object, all these little folds and twists and turns, trying to get them out on the paper as best I can. Again, everybody's going to be at different levels, so don't get frustrated. You can do multiples of these. If you're really advanced, you can fill your whole paper. You can do different points of view. Again, I like to use the word or the phrase ordinary to extraordinary. So if you want to try to make something extraordinary, jump ahead, do it. Do a couple different renderings, some overlapping, whatever you want to do, or you can just follow along with us in our basic contour line demo. All right, so now after you have your light line drawing, you can come in with one of your softer pencils, the HB or the Ebony, and you're going to start looking at where things intersect or are perpendicular or curved, and you're going to start to manipulate the pencil pressure to start to really try to get that look that we talked about. Thin to thick. And again, it's going to be a lot more noticeable for you guys that started out with your pencil very light, okay? So for me, in mine, I had to draw a little bit darker just so it showed up for you. But you guys will have the opportunity to really make this look dynamic when you have your pencil lines not as dark as mine. And I'll do a little made-up line here just so you can kind of see what will happen when I don't have any of those lines in there. You really start to get something that looks a little fun here. So if I didn't do this and I didn't show you guys those little techniques, this would just be a very uniform single width line, pretty boring. But when you can start coming in here and working with your pencil, you can start doing some really cool things. I'll use a thicker pencil here and you can really see some of this come around here. This is called a Lyra Color Giant. Massive pencil here. Kind of looks like I'm in kindergarten, but so these are some of the techniques. Do one more line here and then I would kind of let you go. So this is what you're going to do all throughout your drawing once you get done rendering it. Okay, once you're happy with your drawing, you checked it, you double checked it, you did a nice light job. You can always take your soft eraser, if you have what's called a kneaded eraser. You can always tap on it if you thought you drew a little bit dark and kind of lift up some of the pencil before you start to do these different techniques. Okay, so again, what you're going to try to do once you have rendered your object, in this case our knot, you're going to come in and start working with these 4 techniques: the angle, the intersection, the perpendicular, and the curve on top of this. Once you're finished with this, I want you to take a photograph of it, document it, make sure that you submit it on Canvas underneath the knot contour line drawing assignment. It'll be under in-class assignments or in-class demos for points, okay? And hopefully this goes well for you. Practice, practice, practice. I don't expect everybody to get it at the first time, but maybe some of you will. Have fun.